Hello, good morning. So, audio check as usual, uh, and waiting for the confirmation from the chat that I have audio. Audio is good, so we're good. So, welcome to episode 4 of this live streaming. This is sort of starting to get into the sad days of development, because basically I'm getting close to the closing date, where basically I'm not allowed to put stuff in anymore, and basically my job goes from a very creative, interesting, fun part of improving the game and improving the experience and code new stuff, into basically simply bug fixing. And you get this sad feeling of looking at your feature list that you wanted to do for this update, and you see all the things that you missed because you didn't make in time to put it into the software, and that's it. That's just the way it is, and it goes to next update. So the pressure is on. So basically it's going to be, in theory, until Friday, with pressure on and long hours, and try to put everything I can in the software. Knowing myself, I know already that Saturday and Sunday I'm gonna try to put some extra hours in, and but definitely from Monday, basically I cannot afford anymore to put new things into the software, and need to make sure that everything, all the new stuff that I put inside, sort of work, and put the software into a stage where it's possible to be released without too many problems. And as usual, then what it happens usually is that as soon the software is released, there are a couple of oh shit, I didn't think about that, and that comes with the fact that a huge amount of user will start to use the new features and just go into a series of scenarios that you just didn't even think about. And so, as usual, there will be a couple of hot fixes made in the next 2 or 3 days, just to react to whatever immediate feedback we get. And that's going to be the plan for the next couple of days. So pressure, time is ticking, and there isn't much time to waste. Right, okay, so what's the situation with the server? There are the two main parts of this update are things that I've been working on for the last weeks. It's not the kind of feature that you can have in a stream that takes like half an hour or 1 hour to get sorted. It's those kind of things that need planning and need time to develop. And these two major things are the server plugin architecture, and that was a very long a very long process to come up with a solution to that. The reason is that because I'm using Google Go for the server, and Google Go doesn't really support dynamic loading of code, so you can't just connect. You cannot link a DLL at runtime with Go, because it's just the way it's designed. So basically I was faced with a situation where I couldn't really write a plugin architecture to it. You could use a system that goes with RPC, remote procedured calls, over the network. So basically you have two different programs. They are talking to each other using this RPC, but then basically, and that was actually the solution that I went for originally, but then I started to think, hold on, by using this system, I'm basically forcing everybody writing a plugin for the server of Assetto Corsa to use Go. And I really didn't want to get into that. So what happened was that about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I basically completely changed my mind, scrapped everything down, and start just using a UDP system. So pretty much you can write your plugin in, it's still a separate program, but you can use any language you want, as far as supporting reading UDP, which I think every language will support. My plan is, because right now, I still have to put features in. My plan is for the streaming that will follow after this, especially the one from next week, to talk more and go into the details. So what are the new things that we put into 1.2, and so you guys can sort of start to have an idea of what will be possible to do. The way I'm designing this plugin architecture, I'm just trying to imagine what people would like to do with the server plugin, and of course the main point of it is to give control for things like accessing the server, and also giving real-time feedback on things like accidents and going out the track. So in other words, sort of give the tools necessary to build some sort of safety rating. So the idea, for example, is to have something that will allow a third-party plugin to authorize or deny a certain user from entering a server. So here I'm imagining a scenario where a website has a series of servers, and they, for example, they only want to allow their user, the user of that website, to actually enter into those servers. And what they can do, they can use this system. So every time a new client trying to connect, the server is basically calling the plugin and saying, okay, this is the Steam name of the user and a password. Should this guy be allowed to enter? And basically the third-party plugin, which is going to be implemented, uses this system is going to be implemented using HTTP. Is basically so you can call whatever other server on the internet, and it can just connect to a database and check, okay, I got this guy, so he's allowed to enter, or no, I don't have this guy, so deny the entrance with this message. So when the client is denied the entrance, he will get a message saying, oh, you to join this server, you will have to do this, and this, go to this website or whatever. And also you can imagine a scenario where you can have a system where you have a safety rating or an experience rating for drivers, and you have a series of servers that only allow a certain. You only want to allow, for example, on this server, the people that have more experience, because maybe you're running cars that are tricky. So you want people that have a certain safety rating. So you sort of want to offer a better a better experience to the user of your website. And that's so you can implement a safety rating by writing a plugin that is either writing a plugin, or the other option is basically using the session report, which is basically a JSON file which will log lots of events that happen during the session, and that includes accident going out, and also normal things like lap times and things like that. So you can have your own safety rating, and through the authorization system you can check that this user has enough safety rating to actually join that server, and either allow him or deny him the entrance. So I think it's an interesting possible evolution of what the community of Assetto Corsa can do with software. Of course, 1.2 represents the first step. Then it's a matter of try to understand what you guys are going to try to do with this system, and try to make it better and to target it to what you're trying to do. Of course, there are some limitations. There are many information that are not available on the server like they are on the client. Like, for example, one thing that I was thinking about was, maybe you could implement a drive-through system just by writing a plugin. But then I realized, oh no, you can't, because you really the server doesn't have at the moment the information if a car is in the pit lane or is not in the pit lane. So yeah, that's a showstopper, but it's a showstopper for the moment. But if we realize that that's a possible way forward, then I think adding one bit of information to say, oh, I'm in a pit lane or I'm not in a pit lane, to the protocol of the information that are going back and forth, the client and the server, is not going to ruin the bandwidth that much. So, and it could be worth the price if what we get in return is the ability to customize this kind of behaviors. So yeah, that's the idea of where I'm going with this server architecture. And yeah, so let's come to what the plan for today is. So today, I basically, this morning I've got two targets to hit absolutely, and one is keep adding the information on collisions through the protocol from the client and the server, from the server to the plugin. So basically we are going to work with three programs here: the client, the server, and the plugin. And basically what they have to do is, when the client gets a collision with either the wall or another car, it will have to send a message to the server, and the server will have to broadcast this message to the plugin. At the moment, the architecture only allows one plugin to be used, and if we realize that's not what we want, then eventually we might have a number of plugins. I will get more into the plugin thing with example when we'll release 1.2. I will also release a C# program that is basically giving you an idea of how to write a plugin for the server. I choose C# because I think it's the ideal language as far as complexity and power goes, and it's a language that most programmers can follow quite easily. Right, so one other thing that I wanted to say is that I read a very nice proposal. I forgot your name, I'm sorry, but it was a very nice proposal about the idea of actually using this kind of a system like this. Of course, it's the first time that I talk about the server plugin architecture, so there were some guys on the internet that sort of guessed where I was going to, because I'm not really coming up with anything new here. I mean, it's stuff that has been done wonderfully by Leaf for Speed, like 10 years ago. So it's like it's new for me, but it's not really new. It's not incredibly new technology in general. So quite easy to guess where I'm going. And he was saying, well, as far as the full start, the possibility, to have a full start, that could be something that could be handled through the plugin. So in other words, the plugin will say, oh, this guy started early. And then, so you sort of enable this possibility if you are in a league. And then you say, I can enable this because I know that there will be a human handling the situation. Again, this might not it might not be possible to do it straight away with 1.2, but I think it's a direction that has potential to develop the world of multiplayer for Assetto Corsa in order to allow Assetto Corsa to be an option for organized leagues and championship. Right. Okay. So let's stop talking and go into the coding. So we'll take care about the communication between the server and the plugin later. So let's start from the client. And we need to get into a situation where the client knows when there was a collision. Now, collision reporting in Assetto Corsa is one of those things that every time I have to work on it, I end up hating myself and hating the world, because it's really a stupid system. The way I did it is incredibly low level for no good reason at all, where I have a bunch of void star stuff which are ugly for absolutely no reason at all. So here we have a collision callback where we can understand what we're colliding to. Let's see if we have an event somewhere. Yes, we have an event, but is an event that is designed to be dispatched to the graphic thread. So it's not really designed to work on the physics thread where the actual client is living. So we'll just have to create a new event so the client can attach to this. And let's see if we have already a car collision structure that we can propagate there. No, we have a generic physics event, and I really don't want to get into that. I hate that system. So I will have a proper on collision event. Okay, and what I want to know is the other car that we collided to, if there is one. I want to know the relative speed of the collision, and probably I want to know the point of impact relative to my car position. Right. Okay, so that's the event that we're going to fire when there is a collision on event. Right. So let's see how we can get the information about. We already have a problem here, because in the collision event I was assuming a car, which is a physics car, but if we are in multiplayer, where basically the system will really be used, we don't have a physics car. So this is a road that is not bringing us anywhere. Do I have a... Okay, so I have a collider for a remote car. Let's see if I can get from this to the actual car that this belongs to, because this could be really complicated. Because basically I have this body, but I have no idea to figure out who this body belongs to. Let's see if the physics engine has a list of net cars or remote cars. You should have. No, so perhaps the client has it. So who the hell has the list of remote cars? Like how this works? Net cars, here we go. Okay, so the client has this. Where are they? Net cars. Here you are. Oh, lovely. Okay, so the client knows this. So instead of giving it a car, I will give it a rigid body, and then whoever is connecting to this event will have the responsibility to come up to who this rigid body belongs to, which I think is fair enough. So back here on collision callback, so blah 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 blah, find the impact speed, Okay. Okay, so I think another information that is useful is what did with, which is an unsigned long collider group. Okay. Okay, so once we figure out the speed, before we calculate the damage, or after we calculate the damage, so we dispatch this event to the graphic thread, and dispatch the physics thread event. So it was called on collision event. Okay, the body is other body. The collider group is okay, let's assume that I'm always number one, which is a good assumption. So CO1, and then we'll try to prove this. Position, it's a relative position, which we'll calculate somewhere. Okay, and relative speed is speed, and that should be it. So event on collision event trigger this guy. Okay, so now the client is able to subscribe to this event. When the car is created, so car event on collision event on collision event add handler blah blah constant on collision event reference event. Okay, and what we do, we create a function that we call, come on Visual Studio, don't hang up on me, on collision event, and constant on collision event reference event. Okay, so we call our function, fine, and we're here. So now, so in theory the client should be getting this message. For sure we need to find a remote car from a body. So we will have a function here, net car state provider pointer get net car state, get net car from body. And this goes looking for all the net cars, and if and see, right, this net car state provider has a body. It needs to. Here it is, but it's private, so we need a get body function. I rigid body get body, which returns body. Okay, so if net car get body equals body, we return this one, otherwise we return nothing. Okay, so when we get this thing, we can discover the net car by calling the new net get car from body, and we pass the event body. If this is null, net car will be null, so we're totally happy with that. Right, so we solved the problem how to get this. Now we have to send this to the server. The problem is that we get a lot, every time we collide with something, we get a lot of these messages. We get a lot of these messages, and the problem is that we cannot flood the 5 seconds or something like that. You know, I send the information of the collision that I had, if I had. Right, so ideally this will be a set, but I will just implement it myself as a vector. So we will have a vector of need another structure here, so we call it client collision event. Okay, and the information is going to be the net car that we hit, if we did, otherwise it's going to be a wall, and the speed that we hit it. Now for the speed, the position is going to be really tricky, and for now I will forget about the position, because it will mean recording all the impact and then coming up with an average position of the collision, which is not really what we want. But what we can do is actually we can have a position, and we will just record the position of the impact with the highest speed, which is exactly the thing we will do with the speed. So we will just record for every car, like, you know, so if I hit the car 50 times, I will just record that I hit that car, and using the maximum speed and the position of that impact and maximum speed. So fine, so the client collision event is blah blah, where is it, the vector that I was creating, here it is. client collision events. Cool. Then we will have some private function that says void add collision event, and what we're going to send is all the information. So basically the net car, the speed, and the position. And what this one is doing is basically is going around all the events that I already have, and if I find that I already have an event with this car, okay, I will say that the speed is gonna be the no, I need an if here. So if the speed of impact is bigger than the speed of impact that I have already recorded, then I update the speed of impact and I update the position. And I return. So if I make it down here, it means that I don't have, so I need to create a new client collision event, which will have all the information that I just passed. Speed, and I have to add it to the client collision events. Pushback event. Okay. So lots of errors. Missing forward declaration, and that's the kind of price you pay to have to work with C++. All these annoying things that you really shouldn't be doing. Collision event, it doesn't know what it is, so we have to forward declare what the heck this is. Okay, and he's finally happy. Okay, so where were we? So when we get a collision, we call add collision event with the net car and with the speed, relative speed, and the position. Okay, I have something complaining here. Cannot convert from constant ref to ref. Why this is a constant ref? Ah, because this is constant. Okay, fair enough. So constant ref pos. Okay, so it's building. Cool. Now what we need is the client tick. So basically we need to record last client event send time. Okay, so do we have a step for this one? Should have a step. On physics step. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So what we do here is that if physics time minus last clearance and time. Let's start with 5 seconds, and then we can change it later. So if collision event is not empty, okay, then we call the server. To call the server, we need a new message, because so let's bump the protocol. Because I'm running out of stuff, I think what I will do is events, I will say const ACP client event generic 130, and then we will have a series of events. So event types, ACP, for example, client event collision equal 10. Okay, so in the client we have to prepare the packet, which I never remember how to do. Packet pack, write ACP client event, then we write. Okay, so what we want, if we want this message, we want to pack all the events that we have. So let's say that we have so event count is basically client collision events size, and we want it as a byte. So we have a maximum of 255 event. Let's not be cheap. Let's make it a short. So we can never run into a situation where we don't have enough. So we write event count. Then we start our so for the event we write the type of the event, which is in this case collision. Okay, so we write the, so if we have a net car, actually probably I can make this a little bit better and save some bandwidth. Like I can have a collision with car, and I can have ACP CE collision with environment. Okay, so when I go to the client, I do the if here. So if we have a net car that we collided with, the message is gonna be a C collision with car, and then we add the information about the car. Otherwise it's gonna be just a collision with the environment, and we know that we don't have to send for now any information about the environment. Okay. So in case it's a car, we need to write the session ID of the car. So c net car session ID. Okay. And then we have to write the speed. Okay, and then we have to write the relative position, which is basically 3 floats. Okay, once all this is done, we need to send this with the TCP. And so if we send, and then we update the time. So we basically have this. Okay, sorry. And then we need to clear the client list. This should be it for the client side. So let's go to the server side and receive this. So as a car on message TCP, we need to add this thing to the protocol. So the protocol becomes 6, and we need to translate this stuff in Go. From C++. So this goes here. This goes here. So it's byte. Don't need a semicolon. Byte, I don't need a semicolon. Byte, I don't need a semicolon. So that's cool. So case ACP client event bank client event. What we do, we have to see what the event is. So event type is spec read byte. You know what, I don't like to do it here, so I will just do a function pointer car on client event, and we just give the packet. Okay, so here we just do the on client C on client event pack. Cool. So here we do the event type back read byte, and then we do the switch EV type, and then so in case is an ACP CE collision with car, we just print out the information for now. So so other car is going to be get car by session ID, which is the next thing I I have in the packet. So get packet read byte. So that's the other car, and then I get the speed. Speed is packet read float. Okay, and then I have the position. Do I have a read float? Yep, I have it. Boss. Cool. So now I just print out this information, and that's it. So other car. Allora, what I will do is, so it's a collision between my driver and other car and other car driver. Speed speed by 3.6 to get it in kilometers per hour, and position boss, and that's about it. And then if it is with the wall, CE with environment, we just get the speed and the position, collision and wall, and environment. And that should be it for the it's missing equals. Messed up with some so we don't need all this speed. Okay, this build, let's just let me check that in the client we're okay, we're sending the position regardless, and we should be ready to try this. Try with the wall, and then what do I have? And then it's already 1 hour, so I just try that it works with the wall, and then I will test by myself with the other car. So let's set up race blah blah. Start this. Let's start this. No available slot. What car am I requiring? Let's get the status. Okay, let's start hitting stuff. Bang and bang, and in theory on the server so it's getting the message. Of course, because this is going to be a series of events. So we have the event count. Let me close the client. We have the event count, which is we said read unsigned int 16. So this become a for loop. Okay, let's write down here receive it event count client events. Okay, let's try. Did I build? Oh, come on. Is coming from C++ to Go. It's a bit annoying because Go is much more precise on the types. Do operation between unsigned int 16 and int and things like that. You have to be very precise what is what. C++ does a lot of conversion, automatic conversions, which is good for something, but you know, it can be annoying for something else because sometimes it's hiding errors because it's happily converting stuff. Okay, so collision between Stefano, Bo, it's my team, an environment at a speed of 22 kilometers per hour, relative position 0.87. That's lovely, absolutely lovely. And I got 2 events, so it didn't send me like hundreds of stuff, and this is great, it's working. So what is left for me to do is to test it with just broadcast, and we reach 1 hour of our stream, so I think we can go into Q&A. If you have a question, now is the time to ask questions. As for the resolution stuff, I promise I will try this weekend to do some experiments to get the resolution higher, so makes a bit more sense. So it shows the speed and place on track where there was a collision. At the moment, it's the relative speed. So imagine that you're going at 200 kilometers per hour, but you're just scraping a wall. And that means that your relative speed with the wall is not 200 kilometers per hour, it's very low. It's usually, you know, for example, the kind of collision that I did, it gave us 20 kilometers per hour because I was just scraping the wall. The position at the moment is the relative position of the car. So it's telling you where my car was sit. And I think it's an interesting information for the plugin, because you can build a system where you can have different part of the car getting damaged in a different way, and that could result in some sort of repair cost and so on if you start to go wild in that direction. But probably you're right that the actual position on the track where the collision happened is also a very important information that I should add to this system. Question about the new multiplayer weather changing option between the session. Is the ambient temperature included in this change? Yes, basically I will show this in my next stream. But yes, basically what you do is basically you have a list of possible weather scenario where you can have things like fog clear on cloud, and then within this scenario you can actually decide a possible range of ambient and road temperature. So every time a session is starting, is basically selecting randomly one of these scenarios, and then creating ambient temperature that is compatible with that. What if this information of cars that collide could be implemented as a layer in the replay? Yeah, it could. You know, the idea is to move away from the idea of using the replay to get this kind of information, and use the reports and the report and the real-time plugin to do it. Will Shadow be worked somewhere in the future? Don't have plans to work on Shadow in the future. Osmo asleep. What's your takes on Linux games? Partner games or Linux? I'm not a huge Linux fan, to be honest. I think it's more trouble than it is. Basically, you don't get any gain from going to that platform. It's a platform that is very tricky to support, especially if you don't have people in the company using Linux. It becomes really difficult to support, and the development environment there is very 1970. So I think it's very important for us to be able to work in an environment that allow us to be productive, and when it comes to that, you know, Linux is just not competitive compared to Windows. Will AC ever get soft lock implementation? I don't like the soft lock done with force feedback. I did some experiment back in the days with Netcar, and you sort of get this bouncy feeling. I would like the possibility to interact with the steering wheel driver itself and set up a lock. I know full stars are happening, but can I at least put the cutting first before the race start? There is as I was saying, you know, this system of plugin could be a possible way to solve the problem of first gear. Of course, it's only going to work in multiplayer, and only going to work if you connect to the server that has a plugin that unlocks that feature, because it's going to handle it somehow itself. So, is it possible to add a warming lap before the race? I think it's total. These kind of features are. This just gives me you know, assist to talk about something. If it was for me, I would put everything in Assetto Corsa, like everything, like, you know, from safety car to NASCAR, oval racing, anything you can think about, all the trucks in the world, all the cars in the world, all the rules in the world. If it was for me, you know, you would be able to drive on the moon, you will be able to drive on Mars, you would be able to have jet engines and propeller engine and make airplanes in Assetto Corsa. So if it was, you don't have to convince me that a feature is good, because yeah, I'm already convinced. I know that safety car is good. I know that rolling starts are good. You know, you don't have to convince me about that. The problem is that I also need to make calls to decide what can be added and supported and maintained inside the software. The problem is that every single feature that you put in the software is something that you commit yourself to for basically the rest of the life of the project. So every decision you take is not just about the time you take to implement it, it's all the time that it will take to support that feature. It's a bit like getting married, but you get married with 4,000 wives, and you know they all bitching every day about you taking care of them. And so when you got like 4,000 wives bitching all day, and you know there is a very beautiful girl coming to you and say, you know, can I be your wife as well? You go like, yeah, you know, yeah, you're really cute, but you know I already got like 4,000 of them, and you know if I have to add yet another one, it's gonna be even more. So at the end, developers are in this difficult situation where we need to decide what is possible, what it makes sense. So we need to decide between the amount of work to do something and the kind of return that that thing brings to the software. And of course, you know, it's not that every decision that we take is the right one, you know, and but everybody that has a job to take decision, you know, will make mistakes and will make decision that will make people angry because they think is the wrong decision. So everything is possible, but it's just a matter of understanding if it makes sense, if it makes sense in that moment, in that project, and if it is possible to actually handle it now and in the future. Okay, let's go back to the questions. How many different areas of Assetto Corsa you will be working on this week? It's mostly multiplayer. So it's like this plugin system, the report system, the qualify stuff, and also the artificial intelligence. So those are the main thing that I'm working on. How about warmer lap? Lol, I hope you're gonna be in game later. I answer about the warmer lap. That was my answer. Is like the advantage that it brings. It's just not worth the hassle to implement it at this moment. So that's it. I love the Lambo and I can't wait for them. Any clue when the Huracan? No, guys. Well, first of all, we don't really have plans, so I have no idea what's gonna be in the next DLC because we didn't even talk about it. You know, when we will finish 1.2, we will have a meeting and we will decide what we want to do for next version. Welcome back, Leonardo. So yeah, so I have no idea, absolutely no idea. But one thing for sure is that all these cars are scheduled to be out on the console version. So, you know, it can't be later than the beginning of the next year. When you finish things here, does it get committed as, or does the rest of your small team polish it up? Usually I polish it. It's much easier for the programmer that wrote the code to just go around it and change it, and you know you just sleep on it, and sometimes you find that you made the wrong call. Like for example, in my stream a couple of streams ago, I did a couple of things that are changed. Like for example, the graphic section for the glowing brakes. Originally, I put it in the car ini file, but that's stupid. It should be in the brakes ini files, and I changed that. So that's how. What current track you will mostly like to see added to the game? Track Alton Park, and probably Portimao, and car. Lotus 7, Caterham, something like that, probably. I lost your question, Leonardo, about Netcar. Why does most of the upgrade break the molds? Will it happen in well, I think most of the time the mod get broken because of audio, and it's not in our hands. So basically we have two different problems. We had some people reporting problems with the audio, and because the audio is a third party, and so in order to solve those, we get in touch with the third party. The third party tell us, oh, so the new version of the audio engine has this fix, so we're forced to move to the new version in order to fix the bug that people are having. And I'm not talking about small bugs, I'm talking about people completely losing the audio. It never happened to me on my machine, but I know that happened to people. So those are important bugs. People cannot play the game, so we are really forced to move to bump up the audio version. And sometimes what they do is they change the file format for the files. So yeah, that happened, that it breaks with both. Usually when we add stuff to the physics, usually we don't do that. We always make it backward compatible. As far as I know, but I will not really commit on that. But as far as I know, 1.2 is fine. It doesn't have breaking bugs for the mods. Do you think collision needs to be adjusted? We found after the hit get much more force, get a spin. It is really dependent on lag, and yes, definitely can be improved. But the difficult thing is that basically, imagine you have a situation where you have a 200 milliseconds latency between you and another car. So as you hitting the other car, what would happen in a single player situation is that you hit another car, so the other car gets pushed this way and your car gets pushed this way, so they sort of absorb the impact in an equal amount. What is happening in a multiplayer situation is that you're hitting a car, and basically you need to wait 200 milliseconds for the information of the collision on that other side of the computer comes, and you get that car moving away from you. So what is actually happening is that is like you're hitting a wall, because you're hitting something that doesn't move away. Now in Netcar I had a system where as soon a collision was detected, that car stopped being driven by the information over the network and became a physical object that immediately responded to the collision, and that made things better in Netcar Pro. So that could be some approach that I could use in Assetto Corsa as well. Will this plugin system let user implement drive and swap a multiplayer by controlling who joins on which car? I didn't think about that, but is a possible development for the future. Yeah. So when the server is asking the authorization plugin to say, can this driver enter or not, the authorization plugin could also answer yes please and give him car number 3. So yeah, it could be possible. Have you in mind to implement an electric car? Electric car? I don't think electric cars. You know, I think once you have a torque curve that is pretty much flat, you pretty much made an electric car. But yeah, I like to watch Formula E. It's one of the things that they put on TV here in the Philippines, and I really enjoy the races there, and I think it will make really great online racing. So yeah, could be something interesting to look forward to. What do you think crashes the game during multiplayer races? All the computer issue I had. I don't know. It's a matter of reproducing the crash, looking at logs, and let's see. What about the escape pressing thing after the finish line? I'm aware, I was able to get one of our guys to look into it and try to explain me what the problem is. I got 3 days. And I think it's unlikely that I will be able to look at it in these 3 days. We'll see. For some reason, collision working better in GT cars and worse in open wheel cars. Probably because the GT cars have are heavier, so you can. It's also in real race. In real racing, you can have contacts with GT cars much more than you can have in open wheels. Back to Earth. Will we see the Ferrari Formula 1 anytime soon in Assetto Corsa? Well, we have a Ferrari Formula 1 from the 70s. Yeah, I think it was in the trailer for the console version, so I think eventually it will come to the PC as well. After 3 days, what happened? More beta testing? Yeah, that's correct. After these 3 days, it's gonna be just bug fixing, and as soon we get to a decent level, we release. Yeah, that's the idea. We are Brazilian. We are deluded by Assetto Corsa. Obrigado. Fatigue brakes. We'll be able to fatigue brakes. I think you're talking about brake fading. And yeah, it's definitely something that we will we really want to do it with Aris, because we feel it's one of the part that are missing in Assetto Corsa for no really good reason. I think it's story time. I think it's I was burned really bad by brake fading in Netcar Pro. And basically the story was that I was in England with the BRD guys, and we were doing this project for Mitsubishi, and basically we were simulating this Mitsubishi pickup truck on a sort of rally cross track, and at a certain point you had to stop it, and it was late at night. We had to basically deliver this software absolutely, and the bloody pickup didn't stop. You for some reason it didn't stop. You couldn't brake and stop. You brake it up to a certain point, and then it just stopped braking. And so I was late at night with my laptop trying to figure out what the hell is going on, why this is not braking. Is it the low speed tire model that is not working? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like it was slowing down and then sort of getting to that kind of slow speed of 15 kilometers per hour, and then it just stopped braking and it kept rolling. And so to make the story really, really short, very late at night, after try to look at every possible thing, it came out that the problem was the brake fading, because the pickup was like 2 tons, and the brake had data for a single seater. So basically, when you were braking this thing, it was just not braking, and so I had this sort of this thing sort of remain with me, that brake fading and brake temperature are really evil. So when we started to work on Assetto Corsa and we had to decide what we wanted to do, we wanted to do better suspension, we wanted to do better tire model, and then I said, but let's just forget about the brakes for now, and we will think about it later. And I think that time has come that we look into brakes. What is the player limit for multiplayer? There is no player limit. The player limit is the amount of bandwidth you have, and the amount of pit position and grid position you have on the track. If you bring brake fading, that will be also mean, well, yes, brake fading and brake temperature simulation. So that's the idea. Of course, the fading. Fading is going to be a tricky one, because if you do it properly, that means that many cars that we have in the game will allow you to do like 3 laps, and then you need to stop. And we want a simulator. We want to make things as realistic as possible. But to be honest, I think that's retarded. To get into a simulation where you have to stop every 3 laps because your brakes are fading. So, you still want to have fun driving. So, we will see. Stefano, Valentino Rossi or Ferrari, Vettel or Riccardo? I don't understand the question. What about providing good telemetry from developer? What do you mean, Alexander? I don't understand. I don't understand the question. How many beta testers are right now? No idea. Probably 20 or 30. I don't know. As I said, I have absolutely no idea when this kind of stuff will be added. As soon 1.2 is released, as I said, the way we work is after we release an update and we go through the initial phase of fixing the initial phase of dealing with the immediate disaster bugs that happen 1 day, 2 days, 3 days after release. Usually what we do, we just have a meeting, all of us, and start to think about what we put in the next update. So all I will be able to tell you is if brakes are part of what we want to do for the next update or not. So we don't have that kind of long roadmap saying, somewhere in 2016 we will do this. So, like Motec, we use the IM system telemetry, and I think is as good as Motec, if not better. Yes, of course. Imagine a slider for brake temperature on and off. Yes, that's something. Or also because in general, another strategy that I like sometimes is because things like braking, fading, things like that are more for sim racer that are really into this kind of stuff. Probably is the kind of things that could be enabled only in multiplayer, because you already know that in multiplayer you are going to get a different kind of player that is sort of expecting this thing and is able to deal with these situations. Is planned to have more suspension animation, damages where that hide the suspension sort of. Yeah, well, the suspension in that car were procedural; they were not part of the 3D model. And the advantage is that you can do all sort of crazy stuff when you have procedural stuff. The downside is that they look ugly. So if you had Assetto Corsa with the suspension looking like the one in that car, people will say is absolutely unacceptable. So we have right now very nice looking suspension, but they have the limitation of, for example, when you change the camber on cars that have animated suspension, the camber doesn't change in graphics, and that's a limitation that we have to live with at the moment to make the software look nice. Yeah, come to Brazil and scan our tracks. It will be a pleasure for you. It will be a pleasure for us as well. But as you can imagine, it's very complicated. I will love to do South American tracks. I would love to do American tracks. I would love to have stuff like Sonoma and things like that. But we need to sell a little bit more copies of Assetto Corsa before we can afford that. Yeah, custom skin for different tires. Yeah, it's well, but it's definitely not going to be in 1.2. But it's totally understandable that it's absolutely making sense that a given tire should have its own graphics. Is it possible to add tool to make DRS rules so DRS works only in some section of the track? Yes, it's possible, but no idea if and when we can do it. It's definitely a part of modern racing that makes sense to simulate. Road America, I'm not hugely familiar with Road America, but yes, Swedish tracks, I don't really know them at all. British tracks, oh my god, if it was for me, you know, I would put all of them, like all of them. Do you have any chance of having the Interlagos circuit? At the moment, we didn't even consider it. So I think at the moment you are left with whatever the modder can give to you. Isle Man, oh my god, that's totally crazy. That's really crazy. Yeah, I'll try to put that button thing to turn off the DRS. Yep. So brakes coloring with braking is already there. Yes, it's there. It's now the guys are working on it. So you can imagine the graphic guy needs to put all the right shader on the disk, make sure the disk is there, and then there is another guy that is basically going through all the cars and writing all the ini files to make it work. So yeah, it's there, but I don't know how many cars will have it working. Is it possible to buy data from a array of scan tracks? I don't know. I don't know. I know that if iRacing asks laser scan data from us, we will charge a crazy price. So probably they will do the same. And so probably it would be cheaper to do it ourselves. I don't know. I don't think that's legal. Well, it depends on where the laser scan is coming from. So it depends. It depends, because sometimes you might do a laser scan as a collaboration with some other company, and so that means that you don't really own that laser scan, so you cannot sell it to somebody else because you did it as a collaboration with another company. Or sometimes you buy it from another company. At that point, again, you don't have the right to resell it. Right. DirectX make a big improvement in performance. Do you think you can switch to it? No, I don't think I can switch to it. I'm definitely going to look into both DirectX 12 and Vulkan, but I don't think it's something that we can expect within the life of Assetto Corsa version 1, for a simple reason that as usual it comes down to supporting the people that bought the game and bought it as a DirectX 11 game. Some people are running it with DirectX 10.1 video cards. So to make a completely different engine, it will put us in a situation where we have to support and manage and bug fix and to graphic engine, which is not possible. More option to hill climbs on the future tracks mode. Yeah, Alvaro. I mean, as I said, if it was for me, there will be everything in Assetto Corsa, and many things that we have will be much better than what they are. But we need to stay realistic to what we can do. I think also, if you look at the recent debacle of a couple of big sim racing games, they were just released. You understand that making driving games is very complicated, and it's just not a matter of how much stuff as people you put on it, because you see other companies that have 10 times, 20 times, 40 times the amount of developers that we have, running exactly the same problems when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to performance, when it comes to crashes. It's hard. So you need to be very focused in what you're trying to do and make sure that what you do, you can do it properly, because otherwise, because users, they don't forgive you anything. Like, I always like to put the example of pit stops in Assetto Corsa. We spent 3 years saying there will be no pit stop in Assetto Corsa, and then the story was that we went to lunch with Giovanni, which is a brilliant developer that worked on Assetto Corsa with me the year of the release, and sadly is not in the company anymore. And we were at lunch, and we were just like kids, like, talking about, hold on, if we do this and we do this, and we can solve this way, we can actually put pit stop into Assetto Corsa. And literally we came up with a solution at lunchtime, and we had like a huge list of things to do, and then we said, fine, okay, we want to squeeze this thing in, with a genuine passion for doing it. And then we went back to the office, and we contacted one of our graphic guy that also had a huge list like this. We were like almost releasing Assetto Corsa outside, and we told him, look, we have a strategy for the pit stop. Do you think you can do the animation and so on? And he was very, very enthusiastic about it, and he just jumped on the idea, and doing that, it meant that he needed to work through the night to actually do all the other things that he had to do with the other cars that he was doing. And then at the end, you know, we get more crap from people complaining about the pit stop that, you know, we would if we would just stick to the plan and say, look, no pit stop in Assetto Corsa. So that's the problem. That's the problem. When you do something, you need to do it properly, because otherwise people will not understand. Furious, do you remember NetMike? Do you know Piboso and his simulators? Yes, of course I remember NetBike. Yeah, it's tricky. Doing motorbikes properly, it's very, very tricky. I think Piboso, I think we tried to offer him to come work with us, but I didn't want to. So, but I never personally spoke with him. I think Marco did. Right, okay, so last 5 minutes, guys, and as you know, I got tons of stuff to do. So, last couple of questions. Specific question about the KS editor writes huge log files. Any way to suppress so it will load FBX quicker? Sadly, the log is not the reason. It's not the reason why it's so slow. It's slow because it's slow, and I don't understand that, because Unity seems to be much quicker to load in FBX. So you can imagine this is something that really hit us. I spent a lot of time trying to make it faster, because when Simone is working on a track, sometimes it takes 20-25 minutes for some tracks to be loaded, and you can imagine that it's basically waste of time, and it adds up in a project. And so that would be an important optimization. At the moment, I'm totally clueless how to make it faster. There would be a speed limit, a lock and penalty for pit lane speeding. Same answer as the other. Not in 1.2, and they're all very reasonable things, and we will see if we ever implement that. At the moment, you know, we don't have plans. Please, about the tire, the name graining will be function. I still don't know what the problem with graining is. A NetBike can one day be released? No, absolutely. I'm not going to work on motorbikes again, for the simple reason that, in my opinion, there isn't a controller available on the PC that is able to replicate the what you need to create a proper physics. Is it possible to add replaying live racing in multiplayer? No, because no, it's not possible, because you will have to stop the physics, so it's not possible to stop the physics in multiplayer. Beside Ferrari Formula 1, we will have more open wheelers, example Renault Formula 2000 cars. No plans for open wheelers at the moment. Will there be a radical in this game? I don't know. I don't think we started a contact with Radical, so no idea. Okay, guys, it's time for me to go back to work, and as usual, huge thank you to all the people that joined this live streaming. Is really interesting and really fun to do it, and all the people that then go and watch the streaming offline later. I think it's a good experience, nice way to interact and get a feel of what you guys are thinking. And I think, you know, my hope is to give you a sort of access to what is happening behind the scene and what it means to put something into the software. And I don't expect everybody to understand and you know, agree with the kind of decision that we take, but you know, just try to understand that, you know, we have to make calls in order to get the software out, because we had some experience in sim racing with projects that wanted to do everything, and they came up to nothing. So we don't want to be those guys. We want to be the guys that actually put something, even if it's small, even if it has limits. You know, that's what we want to do. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and see you next time, which is going to be I have to decide, Saturday or Sunday, about 10 a.m. Italian times. Thank you.